There are three types of shuffles we need to deal with: hand shuffles, automatic shuffles, and continuous shuffle machines. In this video, I'm going to talk about the three types and everything you need to know about shuffles. First, let's talk about a continuous shuffle machine, or a CSM. Let's just get it out of the way. You are not going to beat a blackjack game from a CSM machine. The CSM machine is the big machine that the cards are coming out of it, and for every half deck or deck that's dealt, the dealer takes the cards and puts them back in the machine. It's continuously shuffling, usually 5 decks together. The problem with that is you never can have an accurate true count because it's always shuffling the cards together. Don't think you're going to beat it. There's an entire video I have that breaks down if you can or can't beat a continuous shuffle machine. The reality is you can't. But I can't talk about CSMs without telling my favorite story about Mike against the CSM. So when I ran the church team, we had a player join our team named Mike. He had tested out, he trained really hard, and then he goes on his first trip to Vegas, and he goes with another guy named Ford, and Ford takes him to the Wynn. And Ford says, "Hey Mike, go start playing that table, or go find a table and start playing it." Mike sits down, he starts playing, the rank count goes high, so his true count goes up, and he starts raising his bets, and he's betting more and more, but he realizes that it's not getting further into the shoe, and he's wondering why. So he steps away from the table, and Ford says, "What are you doing? That's a continuous shuffle machine." And he didn't know what a CSM was, so he thought he was just playing a game that was just kind of always about 5 or 6 decks left. And then he had to call me and say, "Colin, I'm really sorry I played a CSM, but fortunately I got lucky and I won about $20,000. So don't do that. Don't be like Mike. Make sure you're playing at a real table before you go and sit down. The second type of shuffle we're going to talk about is a hand shuffle, and that's where the dealer at the end of the shoe is going to take all 6 decks and shuffle it together, something like this. And when it's all shuffled, they're going to put the whole 6 decks back into the shoe and start dealing. And they're not going to do it like I'm doing it, but you get the idea. They shuffle it together and then start dealing it out of the shoe. So the benefits of a hand shuffle are that it can feel more trustworthy because you see that they're actually shuffling all the cards together. The reality is, I'm not afraid of an automatic shuffle machine anyway, but if you're paranoid, you can try to stick to hand shuffles. I definitely wouldn't. The downside to a hand shuffle is it is slower. It takes more time for them to shuffle. It takes about 3 minutes for them to shuffle all the cards together. With an ASM or an automatic shuffle machine that I'll talk about next, it's way faster. The other potential sort of maybe benefit of a hand shuffle is that if you were going to try to shuffle track, that I don't really recommend, you would need a hand shuffle. You're not going to shuffle track from a shuffling machine. So the third and final kind of shuffle machine is an ASM or automatic shuffle machine. So what that looks like is when they get to the end of the shoe, they put all the cards here in the discard tray, then they grab all 6 decks and they put it into this machine that's going to shuffle all 6 decks together. Normally they put this in a machine and then they grab another 6 decks out of the machine, and they're going to put all the decks, whether it's 2, 4, 6, or 8, whatever. I hate shoes, I can't get in there. But they're going to put all the decks into the shoe and start dealing. ASMs, the downside is some people are paranoid, but I'll be honest with you, the church team, myself, a large majority of what we've played in casinos is automatic shuffle machines. I am in no way thinking that those machines are doing anything funny with the shuffling of the cards. We've made a large amount of money playing automatic shuffle machines. The benefit of an automatic shuffle machine is it is way faster. It's about 30 seconds for them to change out the decks of cards with an ASM, as opposed to, like I said, 3 minutes to hand shuffle. So I'm a huge fan of an ASM. It's just going to speed up the game, spend less downtime. If they have to shuffle 4 times in an hour, then we're talking about 12 minutes of hand shuffling versus 2 minutes of an ASM. So let's talk about how shuffling affects your EV. So the reality is, I'm not in any way concerned about cards clumping or card distribution, whether it's a hand shuffle or an automatic shuffle machine. Shuffling does slow the game down, but it's just a reality of playing blackjack, is that they have to shuffle after they're done with the shoe. But other than that, to me, there's nothing to be paranoid about. And we just want to play as many positive rounds of blackjack as we can in an hour, regardless of whether it's an ASM or a hand shuffle. As far as shuffle tracking, that's not what this video is about, but I'll just tell you my opinion, and I've talked to John Chang from the MIT team. I've talked to Tommy Highland. I've talked to a lot of people at the Blackjack Ball, and I've networked with a lot of advantage players. And there are few to no people that are making much money at shuffle tracking. If you want to even think about tracking a shuffle, it needs to be a single pass, meaning when they hand shuffle, they only go through the 6 decks one time. But even then, you know, like I said, very few people are making any money at it. It's very hard to find a trackable shuffle. Ask Richard Munchkin, he would say the exact same thing. And there's this thought on the internet that the real money is at shuffle tracking, and that's not true. All the most profitable advantage players I know are card counters. If you really think you want to become a shuffle tracker, I would say at least get 500 winning hours of blackjack under your belt before you even consider it. At that point, you can get the Shuffle Trackers Cookbook or something like that, but I really don't recommend it. A lot of money has been lost by major teams, the MIT team, the Greeks, and Arnold Snyder's teams, from thinking they could shuffle track when they couldn't. The nice thing about card counting is if your count is good, if your basic strategy and deviations are good, and your betting's good, you will make money. With shuffle tracking, you have to hope that you're doing it right. So there you have it. Don't worry about shuffle tracking, don't play CSMs, and don't come up with conspiracy theories about automatic shufflers versus hand shufflers. Just play as many positive rounds of blackjack as you can, regardless of automatic shuffle or hand shuffle.